My name is Fawzi Bawab. I'm one of the partners at Meirc Training and Consulting, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you on the Six Sigma How to Select Successful Six Sigma Projects. This is a very dear topic to my heart, and I will share with you the motivation that triggered me to actually do this webinar. But before we start, let's talk about some of the webinar items that I would like to achieve today, and then we can take your questions or share any ideas or topics you would like me to talk about. So first of all, the idea about Six Sigma, as you may know, that Six Sigma is an improvement methodology that can be implemented in manufacturing and service sectors. However, part of the implementation, and as a practitioner myself, as a master black belt, I have noticed that many projects tend to fail. And indeed, even researchers in the literature and journals and papers actually are sharing with us that some projects tend to not succeed and to fail. Hence, I thought this is a great idea to share with you some of the tips and tricks and some of what we refer to as the critical success factors to make project succeed. So the objective of this session is to share with you a little bit of background on Six Sigma and then share with you what would you do as a practitioner or as a project leader in Six Sigma to ensure the success of these projects. Now, before we get started, let me just give you more details about myself. My name is Fawzi Bawab. I'm one of the partners and senior consultants at Meirc Training and Consulting. I'm responsible for the quality and strategy offering here at Meirc. And my background comes from engineering. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, master's in industrial engineering, and currently preparing or pursuing my PhD at Heriot-Watt University at Edinburgh Business School. And my topic of research is actually Lean Six Sigma implementation in healthcare. So I'll be sharing with you some of the research findings and some of the stuff I've been actually working on in terms of Six Sigma. Before moving to Meirc, I used to work and live in Ottawa, the Canadian capital, working with KPMG Quality Registration Services and BSI, British Standard Institution, and also I worked as a quality manager with IBM. Um, During my practical experience and work, I've been involved in quality, ISOs as an auditor, quality manager in many organizations where I help them develop quality management systems, and of course working as a trainer and a consultant with Meirc Training and Consulting, delivering programs ranging from quality, from strategy, and of course, Lean and Six Sigma. I've coached over probably 200 projects in the fields of Lean and Six Sigma. So I've seen a lot of projects doing very well, achieving their results, and I've seen also projects that tend to fail. So this is where I'm trying to share with you some of the barriers and some of the critical success factors needed to make sure that project succeed. So to move on, I'm sharing with you our agenda for the day. Will be a little bit of Six Sigma history, a little bit of the drivers to run Six Sigma in companies. We'll be sharing what are the three dimensions of Six Sigma, the focus areas, why would organization do Six Sigma, and of course then the topic of our webinar, which is what would you need to do to avoid the barriers and to make sure that your project succeed when you select the project. So this is our plan for today. So to get started, Motorola started as a problem-solving methodology in the early 1980s at Motorola. A guy by the name of Bill Smith was spearheading this momentum and projects. And of course, as Motorola started to succeed in showing results on improvement of their operations, many other companies started to pay attention, including General Electric, ABB, Allied Signal, and many others. Of course, the methodology started to get more traction once the financial impact and the financial gains were shared in different conferences, different papers, and many companies started looking at Six Sigma as a methodology to drive their business improvement, cut costs, and become more effective in what they do. Now, to summarize Six Sigma, this is not a webinar about Six Sigma per se, but let me just share with you the 3 dimensions through which Six Sigma is deployed. When we deploy Six Sigma, we basically seek the top management support. So it's a methodology driven and led by senior management. The focus and the premises of any Six Sigma project is driven by the voice of the customer and the needs. And of course, there is a quality team that is competent enough, trained on the tools and on the methodology to drive that methodology. The steps and structured approach follows a detailed and a very well thought methodology. The name of the methodology is called Define, or DMAKE for short, and it stands for Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, and Control. Now, in the project of a Six Sigma, you could use many tools. You could use some problem-solving tools, the traditional 7 quality tools. You could use some statistical analysis like the histograms, control charts. You could use design of experiments. You could use many other tools to actually get to your objectives in each of these stages. So it's a well thought methodology. It's a very effective one in terms of getting results and linking it to the voice of the customer and the financial needs. So essentially, a Six Sigma project seeks to reduce defects, remove non-value added activities, and of course reduce the cost of operation by focusing on your existing processes, and of course making your customer your focus area of attention. That leads to customer attention, increased value added, and of course resources for innovation. Now, as we said, the methodology is called DMAKE, and it basically teaches people that get into this training to transform any practical problem into a statistical problem. So any problem, any process, whether in service, in manufacturing, in healthcare, can be transformed into a statistical problem, and then the team will work on translating and finding solutions. These solutions are then translated into practical solutions that the organization can implement and then can realize results. Of course, the last step is control, where people and the project managers and leaders will ensure that there has been a change in the process, it has a financial impact, and it has met the project objectives. So every Six Sigma project is treated as a project with an initiation project and as a conclusion and summary stage. Now, when it comes to the barriers, many researchers have looked into the topics of what could basically affect the progress of a Six Sigma project. And I'll share with you some of the research results that we've done at Meirc and some of the research that I've been doing at my PhD. And that reveals a little bit of what you could do to avoid these barriers. So I'll share with you the recent survey that we did in Meirc, and the survey here is showing what are the top 3 obstacles. Well, there are a number of obstacles, but we could actually see here that there are top 3 obstacles that could face people during the implementation. So the top 3 would be the lack of staff awareness. And this is something that we would like to talk about, since a project in Six Sigma requires the involvement of your staff. Your staff should be aware of the objectives of Six Sigma. So we do recommend that before initiating the Six Sigma projects, you run a number of training sessions, awareness, spreading the word on what is Six Sigma and what's the benefit to the employees. Another obstacle, which basically one of the top and a very important one, which is the lack of leadership. Top management support, commitment, involvement are all things that we look for when we start the projects of Six Sigma. Without the top management commitment, without their backup, many projects will tend to fail, as these projects need sometimes the support in terms of resources, time, money, and if you don't have the leadership support, that could create issues during the implementation or even before the implementation. Another obstacle, it's where the team that is implementing the projects in Six Sigma could not have the right competence or the right expertise. And this is where training becomes a very important intervention and a solution to make sure that people have the right competence, the right skills, whether it is leadership, whether it is facilitation, whether it is problem solving, statistical tools, and these tools and expertise becomes critical to the success of any project. Of course, there are many others, but these are the top three that were found in the research that we done in Meirc, but I'll be sharing you more extensive results that I revealed during my PhD research. Now, even the practitioner researchers and the research done on Six Sigma is showing also some reasons. So if you look here at the top reasons for project success and failures, if we look here in the terms of rank, the top 5, when you don't have proper leadership, so the failed projects, if you look here, the successful projects had an effective leader, and the failed projects did not have involvement by the process owner or a leader. There is, when you don't have the collaboration and the involvement of staff in a Six Sigma project where processes tend to be cross-functional, and you miss on the collaboration and the cooperation between departments, then you have an issue. So this comes here as another point. When you have lack of data or lack of measurement system, and you don't have the data, the valid data to take and analyze and use, that could actually present issues for your projects. Remember, Six Sigma is based on a data-driven approach, so all the steps, all the analysis, you need to have some type of data that you could use for that. Basically, also going back to the process owner involvement and commitment. So the project leader, in terms of their involvement, in terms of their commitment, that is another barrier. And you could think here of project leadership again. So the project leadership, the involvement from the leaders, is another area that comes in as a very important one. In my research at the PhD level, I actually compiled what were the top factors that are needed to make sure your project succeed. So let me share with you what I did. I did a Pareto, which is basically a compilation of the top Lean Six Sigma or Six Sigma. This stands for critical success factors, and this is found in the research. So if you look here, we had a number of critical success factors. Now you can see here the numbers CSF 5 and 13. I'll show you these top. I'll show you now the table that summarizes this, but you can see here that we may want to isolate and focus on these critical success factors. So what are these top critical success factors that had an impact? So here we go. And you can see here the top one that came in the literature based on research, based on case studies, was the leadership and visible top management and involvement and commitment. This is a very critical, this is a number one by most in every research, if you talk to any practitioner, they will tell you this is very critical to have. The second one, which is training and education. So we do emphasize that before you launch your Six Sigma project, you should actually train your people. You should give them the knowledge of the methodology. You should give them the understanding of the tools. And again, you should be very selective in your training providers, the curriculum that you basically want to offer. The body of knowledge of Six Sigma, although has not been yet standardized, but there are some good sources that you can go to, whether it's the American Society for Quality or other UK sources where you can look at the body of knowledge and you can see what are the top topics or the most important topics that should be covered in a training. Another one, any project in Six Sigma should be linked to your customers. The voice of the customer is a critical part of doing a project charter, of defining why you want to do the project. So we do spend time during our training on the translation of the VOC or voice of the customer into the project dimensions and the requirements. Another one is your organizational infrastructure, whether the structure of the organization supports the deployment of Six Sigma, the cross-functional activity, the teamwork is available. So this is another one. And the project prioritization, selection, management, and tracking. Having dashboard, having a system to look at your projects and select the ones that have the biggest impact on your objectives or business objective is another CSF. So these could be the top 5 that we basically can consider, although you could look at other areas, including linking your Lean Six Sigma or Six Sigma to employees, problem solving, incentive program to your employees. So we can talk about many of them, but if you look at the top 5 here, you could have a very good roadmap on what to do and what to avoid. Looking at the areas or the projects that you could select, some projects could be looking at waste or non-value added or lack of productivity. You could look at projects or departments where downtime is excessive or there's an excessive resource consumption. You could look at areas where it's affecting your customer satisfaction, whether it is delivery times or defect levels that are increasing and not meeting the required specification from your customers. Or which everyone loves, including the management, is where you could quantify your waste and your lack of productivity into numbers. So we always look for projects that could have an impact of more than $50,000 per project, doable in 4 to 6 months. Actually, our training gives the opportunity for people to do a project and we give them 8 months, given they're doing other work in their companies, and of course benefit realized in less than 1 year. So I have here a number of items that should be considered when you select any project. First of all, check, does your project connect to a business priority, business objective? Does it align with one of the strategic objectives of the organization? Is it linked to your strategy, operating plans? Does it have the attention and the ears of the top management? Does it make a major improvement in the process? We're looking for more than 50% increase in a certain KPI. Can you do it within 3 to 6 months? You don't want to spend years doing a project in Six Sigma. And can you get the support to be maintained within that period? And can you have clear measures, quantitative measures, so you can actually have that success measure at the end? And of course, pick something which is manageable and it doesn't have too much of a scope. Don't try to boil the ocean, as we say. So we can look here at also the leadership and involvement, which is very critical. These are the top areas that we would look at. You would identify the goals that are strategically aligned. You would make sure that there's some kind of a reward and incentive program. You would like to make sure that senior management commitment is maintained throughout the project. So these are, in a nutshell, what we would suggest for you to consider before even starting and embarking on a project. And here is a quick summary of what we've just said. So these are the high impact opportunities. Follow the money, customers, make sure that problems are linked to your strategy and operating plans. So these are the top areas that you would consider. And here are the projects that you should avoid. If you have too fuzzy, too broad projects, no metrics, no KPIs to measure, I always ask and I insist on people that do the projects and the Six Sigma training in my classes when they submit their project charters and projects to link it to dollars. It has to be linked to the financials. Otherwise, why are we doing the project and spending the time? Don't try to boil the ocean. You know, scope is too broad. Avoid these projects and try to be very specific in your project charter and problem definition. And maybe sometimes you're too just ambitious and you have too many objectives. Remember, a project has to be achieved within 3 to 4 to 6 months. And if you have a broader and too many objectives in a project, then that might tend to expand the time. So this is in a nutshell. Six Sigma projects are very effective. They do deliver results. However, you need to be careful when you select the projects to achieve success within your organization. And you need to consider the critical success factors that we discussed, including top management, leadership, linking to business objectives, having incentives, having a link to your employees. These are among the top critical success factors to ensure that you get results. So I hope I was able to provide some insight on what makes Six Sigma projects successful. I hope you take these and you use them. If you have any questions, you can always email me at fbawab@meirc.com. F as in father, B as in Bravo, A as in alpha, W as in water, A as in alpha, and B as in Bravo at meirc.com. Just email me and I'll be more than glad to respond to your questions or if you need any help. So we at Meirc, we do offer the Lean and Six Sigma training courses. We do ask people to present projects, and we've seen an increased interest and growth in the Six Sigma offering and the projects being submitted. So basically, this is what I have for you this afternoon. I do hope that once you listen to this webinar and you find it interesting, just let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be glad to send you or respond to you as well. So thank you all, and thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you.
Meirc.com